Hello, my name is Tabitha Santi, and I'm going to be teaching on an interview about an interview that I had with a Tanzanian woman about her schooling. So first of all, what I'm going to do is explain both of her schooling and my schooling, and then compare and contrast the two. So she was raised in a boarding school in Tanzania, whereas I was raised in a private school right near the edge of Minnesota. Okay, so some contrasts or some differences between the two would be that she went to a boarding school and I went to a private school, so it was very different. I was able to stay connected with my family where she was not. She stayed there, and they had very strict communication rules where you could send letters or make a few phone calls, but for the most part, she didn't get to live with her family. The second thing is that her boarding school was a Catholic school, whereas mine was a private Christian school. So there is that difference there. And it actually made a huge difference to her because she was a Christian inside a Catholic school. When the Catholic teachers learned about this, there was a lot of shaming that went on because of her faith. So that's an interesting aspect there. And then another difference is their discipline tactics. For my school, when you did something wrong, you got what was called a demerit, which is a slip of paper as a warning reprimand. And if you got 5 of these, you had to pay a certain amount of money to the school. And the money amount increased with how many times you got a demerit. And this is the way that they would discipline. Also, if you got enough demerits, you would have to stay after school and clean the school. And there were many other different things that had to be done as the demerit number increased. For her school, on the other hand, though, they would have certain things like shaming that would happen, where if you were getting low grades or you did something that was not acceptable to the teacher, they would be able to have you stand up and then they would shame you in front of everyone, call you names, call your mother names, anything that you found that you loved and they knew about it, they would shame you about it. Another thing that they would do was they would hit you with whips or belts. Or there was another one where they would have you actually walk around the school several times carrying a very heavy rock, like a boulder. Many interesting disciplinary tactics that I would say my school did not use. So some similarities, though, is that they were both passionate about uniformity. Both of us were required to wear uniforms, but her school went a step farther and actually had everyone shave their heads so that everyone looked fairly similar. In that way, they believed that there would be less distractions. And that's sort of the similar ideas that my school had with the uniform. So, after having this interview with her, I feel that I now know that I need to make it more of a point to be encouraging to my students. She didn't have a very encouraging experience with her teachers, especially with all the shaming that went on. Lastly, shaming needs to be used at a minimum. I know it's really difficult sometimes for teachers to interact with students and not use shaming because of the authority figure that they have in that child's life, but I think it needs to be down to a very small minimum, if not ever used, because it's only used for wrong and it doesn't actually help. If there's a third thing I would learn, it's never give up on your students, because it sounds like she went through a struggling period with that there as well.